A Boulder City woman is suing the city over a camping ban. That's the topic of today's Breaking Down the Law segment. And News 3's Angela Nomura spoke to attorney Matthew Hoffmann from Battle-Born Injury Lawyers about the lawsuit.
Breaking Down the Law is sponsored by Battle-Born Injury Lawyers.
A Boulder City woman has filed a federal lawsuit challenging the city's camping ban. Susan Reams, who was previously homeless, is suing under the First and 14th Amendments, arguing the ordinance violates equal protection and due process rights. Her lawsuit comes after the Supreme Court's Grants Pass decision made it easier for cities to criminalize homelessness and amid President Trump's new executive order directing federal agencies to help cities remove homelessness or homeless individuals from streets. What makes this Boulder City challenge different from previous cases? And could the challenge be successful? Here to talk about it all is attorney Matthew Hoffmann with Battle-Born Injury Lawyers. Matthew, good to see you, my man. Let's jump right into it. So the Supreme Court's Grants Pass decision apparently violates or criminalizes camping, I should say. So why is Susan Ream bringing this up now, and does she have a legal argument?
Yeah, so the difference in the argument that's being brought by Ms. Reams is under the 14th Amendment. Under the Grants Pass case, they dealt only with the cruel and unusual punishment clause of the 8th Amendment. And they just said, look, it's not cruel and unusual punishment to ban camping in the cities or homelessness in the cities, or to say you can't, camp in the streets and overnight. But they left the door open, saying it doesn't say that you can't challenge it on other grounds. And so that's where this comes in. This is a challenge saying, first and foremost, that it violates due process, meaning it disproportionately affects and adversely affects homeless or the unhoused versus normal people. Somebody that's out there taking a nap in a park isn't getting pushed out of the park, whereas people that are homeless are. And then also under First Amendment, Ms. Reams was saying that she was not allowed to engage in political discourse on this with the city council to challenge it, and that violates her First Amendment rights. So the difference is what constitutional amendment she's bringing the case under. That's why this is being brought.
What do you think about Trump's executive order, and how does that play a factor into this case?
Yeah, so it's a big factor, and more so in practical terms, but also in legal terms. But on the practical side, so President Trump's executive order directed cities to take action to remove homeless encampments from cities, and it incentivizes the cities by if you engage in that and you go to the federal government and say, hey, we spent the last 6 months or a year trying to clean up the homeless problem and encampments in our city, we've been very successful, here's the data, we need more money. In the executive order, it's basically saying we will direct more funding to you if you do it. So they're highly incentivized to do this, the cities are.
Wow.
But on the legal side, it's going to pose a challenge to Ms. Reams' case, is that Trump's executive order also orders the cities to direct the people affected, i.e. the homeless, to appropriate treatment facilities, whether it's drug and alcohol, mental health, and try to stop sending people to jail. And when you bring an equal protection argument, the question that's going to be asked is, well, what's the result to these people that are impacted? And is it a negative result? And the argument is going to be it's a positive result, because these are people that need treatment for drug and alcohol problems, or they need mental health treatment. And federal courts are pretty deferential to local city officials when it comes to these kind of things, particularly if you have the pressure of this executive order and you have federal funds coming to the cities, and it creates this pathway to actually help the people that are affected versus hurt them. So I think it's going to be an uphill battle, and last I checked, Ms. Reams is actually representing herself. I think that might change. ACLU might get involved, whoever. But definitely an uphill battle, and if it goes all the way and then these get upheld, well, then it's kind of game over. You have no challenge left, because now you've brought it under the First Amendment, 14th Amendment, 8th Amendment, and you lost on all of them. And the cities are going to have a lot of power to regulate, what they should, the health, safety, and welfare of their citizens.
That's such an interesting fact about the positive outcome of all of this.
Right. It's like, you're sitting there saying, hey, we're disproportionately affected. Well, what's the effect? If the effect is a net good, if it's something that's positive for those people affected, how can you say that it's some kind of a bad outcome? And so I think that that's going to be a big challenge for them in the face of that executive order.
Matthew, thank you so much for joining us here on the program. And if you have any legal questions you want answered by Matthew Hoffmann, email us at breakingdownthelaw@news3lv.com.